Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another tranquil journey through the annals of history. As you settle into your cozy bed or favorite armchair, and we get ready to dive into tonight's trip, I invite you to leave a comment sharing where in the world you're tuning in from and what time of day it is for you. It's always warming to know how vast our community of nocturnal historians reaches. If you enjoy these calm, meandering explorations of the past, consider subscribing to join our little community of history lovers seeking a restful night's sleep. Tonight, we journey back to the land of the pharaohs, a realm of golden masks and towering pyramids. But we won't be standing in awe of its treasures. Instead, we'll feel the relentless sun on our backs as we explore the worst, most grueling jobs in ancient Egypt. You think you know ancient Egypt? The name conjures a series of splendid, silent images in your mind. The serene, knowing eyes of Tutankhamun's golden mask, the forest of colossal stone pillars at the Temple of Karnak, and of course, the pyramids of Giza, cutting a perfect triangular silhouette against the desert horizon, seemingly connecting the mortal world to the divine. You can almost hear the soft chants of priestesses deep within a temple sanctuary, smell the rare incense reserved for a pharaoh, and see the white-sailed ships gliding serenely down the Nile at sunset, carrying life and wealth to the Black Land. It is a world of order, of vibrant color. The sky is an endless canopy of blue, protected by the goddess Nut. The earth is a firm, brown foundation, held up by the god Geb. Everything operates in harmony under Ma'at, the cosmic principle of order, truth, and justice. The pharaoh is a god on earth, his will a perfect reflection of Ma'at, ensuring the Nile floods on schedule. The sun rises each morning, and the dead are given safe passage to the afterlife. It is a profoundly stable, reassuring cosmology. But now, for a moment, let that gilded imagery fade. Let's gently, very carefully, pull back the magnificent tapestry woven from hieroglyphs and mythology, the one that has covered this world for thousands of years. Because you are not one of the protagonists in that painting. You are not the pharaoh, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. You are not the high priest, robed in pristine white linen. You are not even the scribe, given the rare privilege of recording history. You are the 99%. When you are born into this world, you are not greeted with frankincense and myrrh, but with the raw, earthy scent of mud and sweat. Your world is not one of grand colonnades and painted reliefs, but of a low-slung, mud-brick hovel, stiflingly hot in the summer and chillingly cold on a winter night. The first thing you see each morning is not the poetry of the Nile, but the murky, brown water from a canal, thick with animal dung and human waste, from which you must draw your family's drinking water. The air is not perfumed with temple incense, but with the ever-present odor of thousands of people living in close quarters, the smell of unwashed bodies, rotting food, and the ceaseless, choking dust. And the sounds? You do not hear the gentle strumming of a harp. You hear the overseer's roar from a construction site, a sound that cracks like a whip. You hear the strained, collective gasp of thousands of laborers heaving in the sun. You hear the dull, monstrous thud of hammer against stone, a sound that is the rhythm of your life, repetitive and seemingly eternal. Your very existence is chained to this sound, fixed to the bottom rung of society. In this cosmos of supposed harmony, your place is immutably fixed. The pyramid's capstone may touch the heavens, but your gaze will forever be fixed upon its foundation. The social structure is as rigid and unyielding as the pyramid itself. At its peak is the divine pharaoh. Below him, the royal family, high officials, and priests. Further down, soldiers, scribes, and skilled artisans. And you exist on the sprawling, almost infinite base of that pyramid. You are one of the countless grains of sand that make the whole structure possible, infinitesimal and utterly replaceable. The concept of Ma'at, which you have been taught to revere, has a different, far more practical meaning for you. It is not a philosophical harmony, but an absolute social obedience. To question the pharaoh's will is to disrupt the order of the entire universe, an act that would bring ruin upon you and your family. To shirk your corvée laborth compulsory, unpaid work, demanded by the states, to defy the will of the gods. You would not only be punished brutally in this life, but you would surely fail the judgment of Osiris in the next. Your entire life, from birth to death, is bound by this sacred obligation. Those magnificent structures, the wonders that have stunned the world for millennia, are not symbols of national pride to you. The craftsman in Memphis might feel a flicker of honor for the statue he helped carve. The architect in Thebes may derive a sense of accomplishment from the temple he designed. But for you, a common laborer, the pyramid or temple rising before your eyes is nothing more than a monument to your pain and exhaustion. Its every massive block is soaked in your sweat and the sweat of your companions. Sometimes it is soaked in blood. It was not built for your eternal life. It was built with your short, brutal, and agonizingly difficult life, a currency spent to purchase the eternity of someone you will never meet. So, let the image of the golden masks and serene reliefs drift away. The journey we are about to begin is not about divine myths or political intrigue. It is an exploration of the foundation of that grand deception, the suffering of the common person. Your life is a dirge composed of grueling labor, vile conditions, relentless disease, and a profound, gnawing hopelessness. And now, together, we will listen to the most grating, most sorrowful notes of that song as we explore, one by one, the very worst jobs to have in ancient Egypt. The light that wakes you is not the gentle dawn. It is a pale, pre-dawn gray, filtering through the single, small opening in your mud brick walls. But it is not the light that truly rouses you. It is the ache. It is a deep, foundational ache that lives in the small of your back, in your shoulder joints, and in the arches of your bare feet. It is the familiar ghost of yesterday's labor and the ominous promise of today's. You do not rise. You uncoil. Every movement is a negotiation with your own exhausted muscles. Outside, you can hear the first stirrings of the village, the lowing of a cow, the crying of an infant, the quiet shuffling of hundreds of others, all waking to the same relentless reality. You eat your morning meal. It is a thick, coarse bread, made from emmer wheat, dense and gritty. You dip it in water and chew it slowly, methodically. It is not for pleasure, it is fuel. You drink a small amount of weak, sour beer, more for the calories than the comfort. This is the energy that must last you until the midday ration. You walk towards the plateau. It looms over your village, a vast artificial mountain of limestone and granite, a testament to a will that is not your own. You are one of thousands, a slow-moving river of brown-skinned men, flowing out of the village and towards the construction site. There is no conversation, only the soft scuff of countless feet on the dusty path. What is there to say? You are all bound for the same destination, to perform the same monumental, spirit-crushing task. Your job title, if such a thing existed for you, would be simple: hauler. Your primary tool is your own body. Your purpose is to move stone. Today, your gang is assigned to one of the main ramps. A new consignment of fine, white Tura limestone has arrived by boat and been offloaded at the quay. These are the casing stones, the ones that will give the pyramid its final smooth, gleaming face. They are more precious than the rougher core stones, and therefore, any damage will be met with harsher punishment. You find your place alongside dozens of other men, lining the flanks of a massive wooden sledge. On top of it rests a single block of limestone, weighing well over 2 tons. It has been roughly shaped in the quarry, but it is still a monster of pure, indifferent mass. Your tools are the ropes. Thick, coarse ropes of palm fiber, a foot-wide band of woven linen, to sling over your shoulder to distribute the load, and a simple wooden lever for your gang foreman. The foreman, a man whose muscles are hard but whose eyes are harder, gives the signal. It is a low grunt, a percussive sound that cuts through the morning air, and then you pull. The first moment is agony. It is the moment of pure inertia. Every fiber of muscle in your legs, your back, and your arms strains against a dead weight that refuses to yield. Your bare feet slip in the sand and grime, digging in for purchase. You hear the grunts and groans of the men around you, a symphony of pure physical exertion. The rope, rough as stone itself, digs into the raw skin of your shoulder. You lean your entire body weight into it, until your knuckles are almost brushing the ground. And then, slowly, grudgingly, the sledge begins to move. A man in front of you pours a trickle of water onto the sand in the sledge's path, a primitive lubricant to reduce the friction. It helps, but only marginally. Now, the real work begins. It is not a single act of pulling, but an endless rhythmic cycle. Heave, hold, heave, hold. The foreman chants a simple, hypnotic rhythm, and your bodies move in unison, a single, multi-limbed creature straining against the earth. The sun begins its ascent. It is not the benevolent eye of Ra, the life-giver. It is a white-hot furnace hammering down upon the limestone plateau. The white stone reflects its glare, searing your eyes. There is no shade. None. The air is thick with fine white dust kicked up from the ground and chipped from the stones. It coats your sweat-soaked skin, turning it into a gritty paste. You breathe it in. It fills your lungs, a slow, patient poison. You feel it in the back of your throat, a constant, dry irritation. Your focus narrows to a tiny, miserable world. The feel of the rope, the back of the man in front of you, the foreman's ceaseless chant, the burning in your lungs, the screaming of your muscles. Thirst becomes a physical presence, a clawing demon in your throat. The midday break brings a ration of bread, onions, and more beer. You consume it greedily, not tasting it, crouching in the sliver of shade offered by the very stone you have just hauled. It is a brief respite, but your body does not relax. It knows what comes next. The afternoon is the time of greatest danger. As fatigue sets in, concentration wavers. A man stumbles. The rhythm breaks. For a horrifying second, the sledge slips back, and the full weight threatens to pull your entire line down. The foreman's whip cracks the air, not striking flesh, but the sound is enough to jolt you back into fearful synchronicity. You have seen what happens when a block gets loose. You have seen men's legs crushed to a pulp, bodies flattened in an instant. The pyramid does not care. It simply demands more stone. As the sun begins to sink, casting long, distorted shadows across the plateau, your day's work ends. The ache from the morning has blossomed into a roaring fire of pain. You do not walk back to your village. You shuffle, a ghost of the man who left that morning. You wash the grime from your body in the murky canal, the water offering no real cleanliness, only a moment of coolness. You look up at the pyramid. It is a fraction of a hand's breadth taller than it was yesterday. This imperceptible growth has been purchased with thousands of man-hours of suffering. Your suffering. You understand, with a dull certainty, that your strength is simply a resource, measured and spent for a purpose that has no room for you. You are a human stone, used to raise the stones that will ensure your king's immortality. You, however, will be ground to dust long before it is finished. The pyramid on the plateau is a symbol of ambition, a reaching towards the heavens, but you work where that ambition begins. You are not at the destination. You are at the source, the raw, bleeding wound in the earth from which all glory is carved. Your world is not a construction site. It is a quarry, and it is, in every meaningful way, a prison without walls. You are miles from the fertile black land of the Nile Valley, in the desolate ochre-red expanse of the eastern desert. This is Aswan, the home of the hardest, most unyielding granite. There are no villages here, no cheering crowds, no sense of building a monument. There is only you, the rock, the sun, and the wind. A hot, dry wind that does nothing to cool you, but only picks up the fine, sharp dust and whips it into your face. Your day began in the same pre-dawn gray, in a temporary camp of crude huts that feel more like animal pens. The food was the same coarse bread, an onion, a splash of beer. But as you walk to the quarry face, the landscape is alien. This is not the familiar world of mud and reeds. This is a world of pure stone, a jagged, broken landscape that feels hostile to life itself. The sun, when it rises, does not just illuminate, it attacks. It strikes the vast, flat faces of granite, and the glare is so ferocious that it physically hurts to look. It feels as if the rock itself is throwing the sun's fury back at you. You are not hauling stone, you are creating it. Your task is to sever a multi-ton block of granite from the literal bedrock of the planet. Your main tool is a simple, brutal instrument, a dolerite pounder. It is a ball of rock, harder than the granite you are working, weighing perhaps 10 pounds. There is no handle. You cup it in your hands, and for hour upon hour upon hour, you slam it against the granite face. You are tracing a line, a deep channel that will eventually define the block. Thud. A small puff of pink dust, a barely perceptible bruise on the surface. Thud. The shock of the impact travels from your hands, up your arms, and into your shoulders, a dull, concussive wave that shakes your very bones. Thud. The sun beats down on your exposed back. The stone face in front of you begins to radiate a heat so intense you feel you are being cooked. Thud. This is the rhythm of your existence. There is no foreman's chant to keep you in time. Only the scattered, cacophonous noise of hundreds of other men performing the same monotonous, soul-destroying task. The air rings with the unending, sharp percussion. It is a sound that gets into your head, and even when you stop for a brief moment to wipe the stinging sweat from your eyes, the ringing in your ears does not. Slowly, painstakingly, a channel begins to form, a shallow trench a few inches deep. For days, this is your entire world. Pounding, pounding, pounding. Your hands are a wreck of blisters that have burst, bled, and hardened into thick, clumsy calluses. Your joints are on fire. The dust, sharper and heavier than the limestone dust of Giza, finds its way into everything. It is in your throat, a constant gritty cough. It is in your eyes, causing a persistent, red-rimmed inflammation. The old men in the quarry, the ones who have somehow survived for decades, have a permanent, rattling cough. They call it the sickness of the stone. You know with a cold certainty that it is your future. Once the channels are deep enough, the next stage begins. You and your gang, using copper chisels and brute force, begin to carve a series of small, evenly spaced holes along the line of the trench. The copper is soft. It blunts quickly and must be constantly resharpened, a frustrating, inefficient process. But it is all you have. Then comes the moment of slow, terrifying magic. Dry, wooden wedges are hammered into each hole. Now, you wait for the men with the water skins. They move along the line, pouring water onto the wedges. You step back. There is nothing more you can do. Now begins the waiting game. The sun bakes the granite. The water soaks into the dry wood, causing it to swell. The pressure inside the rock begins to build, an immense, silent force. You sit and watch, praying that the fracture will be clean. You have seen blocks split unpredictably, sending lethal, razor-sharp shards of granite flying through the air like projectiles. You have seen them crack in the wrong place, ruining weeks of work and earning the entire gang a brutal beating from the overseer. And then, after an hour, or perhaps 3, you hear it. A deep, groaning sound from within the earth itself. It culminates in a sharp crack, that echoes through the entire quarry, loud as thunder, a clean break. The colossal block of stone, a future obelisk or a sarcophagus, settles with a ground-shaking thud, finally severed from the earth that birthed it. There is a brief moment of collective relief, but no celebration. The overseer is already pointing. The haulers must now begin their work, dragging this new monster onto a sledge for its long journey to the Nile. And you? You turn your gaze back to the raw, wounded rock face. There, you can see the outline of the next block that must be cut. The work is never done. You are hewing monuments from the bones of the earth, but you will never see them dressed in their glory. Your legacy is not the shining pyramid, but the empty space you leave behind in the rock, and the dust that is slowly turning your own lungs to stone. If the quarry was a prison without walls, the mine is a tomb for the living. You are here for a different reason than the pyramid builder or the quarryman. They were conscripts, performing their state-mandated labor, destined, perhaps, to one day return to their villages, broken but alive. You are not a conscript, you are a criminal, or a prisoner of war, or simply a slave born to an unfortunate mother. Your crime no longer matters. Whether you stole a loaf of bread or plotted against a noble, the sentence is the same. You have been sent to the gold mines of Nubia, a place from which no one returns. This is not a job. It is a slow, methodical execution. Your journey here was a death march under the savage desert sun, chained to a line of other wretches. The guards offered just enough water and grain to keep you moving. Now, you stand at the mouth of the mine. It is not a grand entrance. It is a crude, dark maw, gaping in the side of a sun-blasted hill of scorched rock. The heat is indescribable, a physical weight that presses down on you. But the moment you step into the shadow of the mine's entrance, a different kind of oppression takes hold. A dank, foul-smelling coolness seeps into your bones, carrying the scent of stale air, human sweat, and something metallic and dead. The guards shove you forward, into the dark. Your only light comes from a small clay lamp, a shallow dish of animal fat with a flax wick. It sputters and smokes, casting weak, dancing shadows that make the rock walls seem to lurch and writhe. The flame consumes the precious air and fills your lungs with greasy soot, but to let it go out is to be swallowed by an absolute, terrifying blackness. The main tunnels are just high enough to crouch in, but your work is not done here. A guard points you to a fissure, a dark crack in the rock wall barely wider than your own shoulders. This is your workplace. You are given your tools, a small, blunted copper chisel and a heavy stone to use as a hammer. You are not meant to stand or even kneel. You must lie on your side, contorting your body to wriggle into the narrow passage. The rock is immediately cold and rough against your back and ribs. You can feel the immense, silent weight of the mountain above you, a pressure that feels both physical and psychological. You have no room to swing the stone hammer with any real force. You can only make short, jarring strikes against the head of your chisel. Tink, tink, tink. The sound is pathetic, swallowed by the immense silence of the earth. Your world shrinks to the circle of light cast by your lamp. In it, you can see the glimmering vein of quartz and gold you are meant to follow. It mocks you, a seam of brilliant wealth embedded in your dark, wretched prison. You chip away at it, flake by flake. The work is awkward, agonizingly slow. Every movement is a strain on muscles you never knew you had. Your shoulder, the one pressed against the rough floor, grinds with every strike. Your wrist aches from the repetitive impact. The air in your cramped fissure is almost unbreathable. It is hot, stale, and thick with the dust you create and the smoke from your lamp. Every breath is a sip of poison. You feel a familiar tightness in your chest, the early stages of the miner's cough that will eventually kill every man here. You know this. The guards know this. It is part of the sentence. Sometimes, the rock shifts. A pebble skitters down from the ceiling of your tunnel. You freeze, your heart pounding in your throat. You listen, straining to hear any groan or crack that signals a collapse. It is the greatest fear to be instantly crushed and buried in this forgotten hole, but an almost equal fear is that of the guards. They do not care about cave-ins, but they care deeply about your work quota. A designated amount of gold-bearing quartz must be sent out by the end of your shift, which only ends when you are near collapse. From your coffin-like tunnel, you can hear the sounds of the larger operation. You hear the shouts of the overseers, the crack of a whip, and a sound that is perhaps the most disturbing of all, the shuffling and coughing of the children. Boys, some as young as 10, are used here. They are small enough to crawl into the very smallest, most unstable fissures that even you cannot access. Their job is to gather the chunks of rock that you and the other miners chip away, dragging them back out in small baskets woven to their backs. You see them at the end of the shift, their small bodies coated in the same layer of grime and dust, their faces old with a misery no child should ever know. The gold you mine is not for you. You will never feel the weight of a gold ring on your finger or see the shine of a gold necklace on a woman. You hack it from the rock, and it is passed to other slaves who will crush it, wash it, and smelt it. For you, it is just rock, a particularly heavy kind of rock, for which you have traded the sun, the sky, the air, and your life. Your existence has been reduced to a simple, brutal equation. Your flesh and blood, exchanged for grams of a gleaming, lifeless metal. There is no hope of parole. There is no escape. The desert is a fortress, and the guards are merciless. Looking into the flickering flame of your lamp, deep in the suffocating belly of the earth, you understand that you are already buried. The only thing left to do is wait for your heart to stop beating. You have been spared the tomb of the mine and the jagged peril of the quarry. Your fate is less dramatic, but in its own way, just as crushing. It is a sentence of endless, mind-numbing repetition under the same unforgiving Egyptian sun. You are a brickmaker. Your life is dedicated to manufacturing the most basic building block of civilization, and it is a task that will grind your body and spirit into the very dust you work with. Your workshop is not a building. It is a vast, flat, sun-scorched field on the banks of a canal, a place where the rich, black silt of the Nile's last flood has settled. This silt is your primary material. It is your past, present, and future. Your day starts at the water's edge. With a simple wooden hoe, you begin to dig into the thick, heavy mud. It is back-breaking work. Each scoop is dense and wet, and you must haul it in a woven basket to the mixing pit. Your bare feet sink into the cool, sucking ooze. It feels pleasant for a moment, a brief respite from the growing heat of the day, but you know better. You know that within this mud live the things you cannot see, the microscopic worms and parasites that will find their way through a small cut in your foot. You've seen what they do, the slow swelling, the fevers, the bloody urine. Every step in the mud is a small gamble. In the mixing pit, a shallow depression in the ground, the real labor begins. The mud is piled high. Now you must add the temper. You carry armfuls of dry, brittle straw and chaff, the leftovers from the grain harvest, and dump it into the pit. The sharp stalks prick and scratch your arms and legs. Then comes the water, bucket by bucket, hauled from the canal. And then, you get in. You and a half dozen other men step into the pit, the mud rising to your mid-calves. There is only one way to mix this concoction into the proper consistency. You must tread it for hours. You begin a slow, rhythmic march, lifting your feet high and stomping them down into the thick slurry. It is a grotesque parody of a dance. Stomp, slurp, stomp, slurp. The sun beats down on your naked back. Sweat drips from your forehead and mixes with the mud. The silt pulls at your legs, each step a small victory against its powerful suction. It is monotonous, exhausting, and utterly dehumanizing. You are no longer a man. You are a human mixing paddle. Once the mud has reached the perfect, uniform consistency, a skill judged, not with instruments, but by the feel of the ooze between your toes, the next phase starts. You scoop up great, heavy handfuls of the mixture. The thick, gritty mud coats your hands and arms up to the elbow. You carry it, dripping and sloshing, to the molding area. Here, a single wooden mold awaits. It is a simple, bottomless box, the exact dimensions of one standard brick. You slap the mud into it with force, making sure it fills every corner. Your hands are the tools, pushing and pressing. Then, with a practiced motion, you scrape the top smooth with a flat piece of wood. You lift the mold straight up, leaving behind a perfect, wet, glistening block of dark earth on the ground. You then move the mold a few inches to the side and repeat the process. And repeat, and repeat, and repeat. Your entire day is a small, closed loop of this process. Fill the mold, scrape, lift, move, fill, scrape, lift, move. Your back screams in protest from the constant bending. Your arms burn from carrying the heavy mud. Your hands become raw and cracked from the constant immersion in wet silt and the friction of the straw. Under the relentless sun, the rows of wet bricks stretch out behind you, an army of your own creation, multiplying into the hundreds. The field is a landscape of your labor. In one section, the fresh, dark bricks from this morning. In another, the bricks from yesterday, already turning a lighter gray as they begin to dry. And in a third section, older bricks, hard and pale brown, being stacked into kilns for firing or simply left to bake solid in the open air. The entire process, from riverbank to finished brick, is laid out before you. It is the story of your life, told in stages of drying mud. There is no glory in this work. You are not building a tomb for a god king. You are making the humble, anonymous blocks that will form the walls of a granary, the home of a minor official, or perhaps a section of the outer wall of a temple complex that you will never be allowed to enter. Your bricks are everywhere, and yet you are invisible. At the end of the day, your body is caked in a dry, gray shell of mud. It is in your hair, in your ears, under your fingernails. You try to wash it off in the canal, but you know you will never feel truly clean. You look at your hands. They are the color of the earth. You look at the endless rows of bricks, shimmering in the last light of the setting sun. Tomorrow, you will come back and make hundreds more. And the day after that, and the day after that. You are slowly, brick by brick, trading your life force for these simple blocks of hardened earth, trapped in an endless, muddy cycle of creation that offers no escape and no reward. The Nile is the heart of Egypt. Its annual flood, the Akhet, is a miracle, a divine gift that deposits the rich, black silt upon which all life depends. This is the story the priests tell you in the temples, a beautiful tale of gods bestowing blessings. But you know the truth. The gift is not free. The miracle must be harnessed by brute force, and the price is paid by your body. You are part of the corvée, the system of compulsory, unpaid labor, and your task is to tame the great river. You are a digger of irrigation canals. Your life is governed not by the sun or the moon, but by the rhythm of the river. When the waters recede after the inundation, the work begins. An official, a man with clean hands and a papyrus scroll, arrives in your village. He does not ask for volunteers. He reads names from his list. Your name is on it. There is no appeal. To refuse is to defy the pharaoh, to disrupt Ma'at. The punishment would be swift and severe. And so, you leave your small plot of land, your family, your life, and you go. You join a gang of hundreds, perhaps thousands, of other men. Farmers, potters, herders. Your normal lives are suspended. Now, you are all simply labor. Your destination is a parched, cracked landscape of dried mud under a hazy, hot sky. The plan, drawn up by scribes and architects you will never meet, is to dig a new channel, a massive artery that will carry the life-giving water further into the desert, creating new farmland for a distant temple or a wealthy nobleman. Your only tools are primitive and pathetic. when faced with the scale of the task. You have a wooden hoe, its blade perhaps hardened by fire. You have a pointed digging stick, and you have woven baskets. That is all. There are no beasts of burden to help you. The ox is too valuable for this kind of work. The beast of burden is you. The overseer marks out a line in the dirt, and you begin to dig. You hack at the sun-baked earth. It is hard as stone. The impact sends jarring shocks up your arms. Slowly, you break up a small patch of ground. Then, you switch to the hoe, scooping the loosened earth and shattered clumps of dried mud into your basket. You fill it to the brim, a heavy, dusty load. Then you straighten your back, a brief, agonizing moment of protest from your spine, and haul the basket up the steep, growing bank of the new canal. You dump the contents, adding to the spoil heap that will form the embankment, and you turn and slide back down into the ditch to repeat the process. This is your entire world for weeks, perhaps months. Dig, scoop, fill, carry, dump, return. The sun is a merciless enemy. It beats down into the trench, creating a stifling, airless oven. The dust is a constant companion, coating your skin, filling your nostrils, turning your throat into a dry rasp. Water rations are meager, just enough to prevent you from collapsing. Often, it is drawn from stagnant pools, brackish and tasting of filth. Dysentery sweeps through the work camps, a deadly wave of sickness that can kill a man in days. But if you are too sick to work, you receive no food ration. The choice is simple: work or starve. Your body begins to break down. The palms of your hands are rubbed raw, then form thick, painful calluses. The muscles in your back and legs are in a permanent state of fiery protest. Your skin, perpetually exposed to the sun, becomes a dark, cracked leather. Small injuries, a cut from a sharp rock, an abrasion from the basket's rim, air, a constant threat. In this filthy environment, with no medicine beyond a dirty cloth, any small wound can fester, leading to infection, fever, and death. You see men around you succumb, their bodies simply dragged from the trench and left for the desert scavengers. Their names are struck from the officials' list, and life and the digging goes on. The work is not just about digging new canals, it is also about maintenance. Existing channels become clogged with silt and weeds. Sluice gates break. The entire vast circulatory system of Egyptian agriculture depends on this constant, grueling upkeep. Sometimes the work is even more dangerous. You must wade into stagnant water, chest deep, to clear a blockage, feeling the slimy mud squelch between your toes. You are surrounded by the things that live in such water leeches that attach to your skin, biting insects that swarm in clouds, and the invisible waterborne parasites of schistosomiasis, which will enter your body to lay their eggs, slowly destroying your internal organs. You are working for a future you will not benefit from. This new canal will enrich a temple treasury, or the estate of a lord you serve only as a name on a papyrus scroll. You are a tool of the state, as functional and disposable as your wooden hoe. Your own small plot of land at home lies untended, your family struggling to survive while you are away. This is the bitter irony of your labor. In the service of Egypt's great agricultural machine, your own livelihood withers. You are digging for the survival of the kingdom, but in doing so, you are digging your own grave, one painful basket of dirt at a time. The dry, cracked earth is now a memory. The sun-blasted rock of the quarry, a distant nightmare. Your new world is not one of solid ground, but of perpetual, smothering wetness. You have been assigned to the marshes, the vast, green, teeming thickets that fringe the Nile. From a distance, this world looks vibrant, a verdant paradise alive with birds and lush growth. But you are not a nobleman on a reed skiff, hunting fowl for sport. You are a worker, and you know that this paradise is simply a prettier, greener kind of hell. Your day is split between two tasks, both of which are intimately, miserably connected. In the morning, You are a reed cutter. You wade into the water. It is not the cool, clear water of your imagination. It is murky, brown, and disturbingly warm. The mud on the bottom is soft and deep, a greedy silt that sucks at your ankles and calves with every step, trying to hold you in place. You push forward until the water is up to your waist, sometimes your chest. The air around you is thick, a cloying, heavy humidity that makes breathing feel like drinking. A million insects buzz in a constant, maddening cloud around your head. Your tool is a small, curved sickle with a short wooden handle. Your target is the papyrus reed, its thick, triangular stem rising 10 feet out of the water towards the sky. You grab a stalk, your hand wrapping around its smooth, green skin. You have to reach down, submerging your arm deep into the murky water to cut the stalk as close to the root as possible. The sickle is sharp, but the reed is tough. It takes several sawing motions, a fight against the fibrous plant and the resistance of the water. Every moment in the water is a moment of cold, prickling fear. You cannot see your own feet. You cannot see what moves in the depths just inches away from you. This is the domain of the crocodile. You have all heard the stories. You have all seen the empty spaces in the work gangs where a man used to stand. There is no great struggle, no dramatic roar. Just a sudden, violent splash, a choked-off cry, and then stillness. The ripples spread outwards on the brown water, and the man is gone. The overseer makes a note, and the rest of you are forced to continue your work, your hearts hammering against your ribs, every shadow and ripple in the water a potential harbinger of death. It is not just the crocodiles. The hulking, deceptively placid forms of hippopotami frequent these shallows. They are fiercely territorial, and an accidental intrusion into their space can result in a charge that can shatter your small skiff and crush a man's body with a single bite of their immense jaws. But the most certain danger is the one you cannot see. It is the invisible enemy, the waterborne parasite that the healers call aha, schistosomiasis. You know it by its grim, telltale symptom, blood in your urine. It is so common among the marsh workers that it is considered a normal, unavoidable part of the job. You feel its effects slowly, a persistent fatigue, a swelling in your belly. You know it is eating you from the inside out, a slow and patient predator that will claim you just as surely as the crocodile, only without the mercy of a quick end. After you have gathered a large, heavy bundle of the waterlogged reeds, you haul it back to the shore. The afternoon is spent as a papyrus maker, a task that trades acute mortal terror for mind-numbing tedium in a damp, stinking workshop. Here, you take the stalks you risked your life for and begin the delicate process of transformation. First, you peel away the tough, green outer rind, revealing the pale, white pith within. Then, with a skill that belies your low status, you must slice this pith into long, thin, almost translucent strips. Your concentration must be absolute. A slip of the knife, a slice too thick or too thin, and the precious material is ruined. The strips are then soaked in water, the same dirty river water, until they become pliable. The next step is the art of it. You lay down the first layer of strips on a wet linen cloth, their edges slightly overlapping. Then you place a second layer on top, perpendicular to the first, creating a cross-hatched grid. This requires a delicate, patient touch. All day you sit, hunched over, arranging these sticky, wet strips of plant matter. Once a sheet is formed, it is covered with another linen cloth and placed under a press, or, more likely, pounded for hours with a wooden mallet. The workshop is filled with the relentless thwack, thwack, thwack of wood on wet pith. The pressure and the pounding fuse the strips together, the plant's own starchy sap acting as the glue. The sheets are then left to dry in the sun, slowly turning from a mottled patchwork into a single, smooth, pale sheet. You stand back, looking at the finished product. It is a thing of beauty and value. Upon this surface, a scribe will record the deeds of the pharaoh. A priest will write down sacred hymns. An architect will draw the plans for a new temple. It is the foundation of knowledge, of history, of immortality itself. And it was born from your terror in the crocodile-infested waters and your tedious, back-breaking labor in a foul-smelling hut, by a man whose name will never be written down on the very surface he created. The farmers pray to the Nile for its gentle flood. The scribes praise it in their hymns as the source of all life. You, however, have a more intimate and adversarial relationship with the great river. You cannot wait for its gifts to be deposited on the land. You must venture out onto its murky surface and take them, by force, from its depths. You are a fisherman, and every day you make a wager with the gods of the river, betting your life against a meager catch of fish. Your boat is not the sturdy, high-prowed wooden vessel used by officials and nobles. That is a dream of another life. Yours is a skiff, a humble and shockingly fragile craft made from bundled papyrus reeds, lashed together with coarse rope. It is your most prized possession and your most constant reminder of your own vulnerability. It sits low in the water, and by the end of the day, it will be heavy and waterlogged, barely buoyant. It offers no protection. It is less a boat and more a floating platform, a thin woven membrane between you and the abyss below. You push off from the shore in the cool, blue light of dawn, you and your partner. The river seems placid, almost sleepy. A flock of ibis takes flight from a sandbank, their wings silent in the morning calm. For a fleeting moment, you could almost believe the hymns. You could almost feel at peace, but you know better. You know that this tranquility is a lie, a mask that hides a world of sudden, shocking violence. Your method of fishing is the dragnet. It is a long, heavy net, weighted with clay sinkers and held afloat by wooden floats. You and your partner take opposite ends and row your small skiffs in a wide semicircle, creating a wall of mesh in the water. Then, the real work begins. You must pull. You must haul the net towards the shallows, fighting the current, the weight of the water-soaked flax, and whatever life is struggling within its confines. Your shoulders and back burn with the effort. Your hands, already calloused, grip the rough rope until your knuckles are white. It is a slow, grinding battle. The net snags on a submerged log. You must stop, pulling carefully, praying it does not tear, for to repair it is a long and tedious task that earns no food. You pull again, feeling a promising weight, a frantic thrashing within the mesh. Hope flickers in your chest. But when you finally drag the mouth of the net onto the muddy bank, your prize is often meager. A few tilapia, a spiny catfish, and a mass of stinking riverweed. Some days you pull for hours and earn barely enough to feed your own family. A large portion of any significant catch is owed as tax to the local temple or a noble's estate anyway. The risk is all yours. The reward is shared with the powerful. But the hard work and the poor returns are not what gnaws at your soul. It is the watching. It is the constant, low-level terror that becomes the background hum of your life. You have learned to read the river's surface, not for its beauty, but for signs of what lies beneath. The crocodile is the master of stealth. You learn to distrust logs floating near the bank. You learn that two small, innocent bumps on the water's surface might be a pair of reptilian eyes, watching, waiting. The danger is not when you are paying attention. It is in the moment of distraction, when you lean too far over to untangle the net, when your hand trails in the cool water for just a second too long. There is no warning. There is only a surge of impossible speed, a glimpse of a jaw filled with peg-like teeth, and a force that can pull a grown man from his skiff and into a dark, rolling underwater death before his partner can even shout a warning. You do not fear the crocodile's presence. You fear your own momentary lapse in vigilance. The hippopotamus is different. It is not a silent hunter. It is a 2-ton behemoth of territorial rage. You hear its presence before you see it, a deep, wheezing grunt that travels through the water and seems to vibrate up through the reeds of your skiff. The sound chills your blood. The priests may paint them as docile, even comical figures in their tomb paintings. But you know they are the river's true kings, and they are wantonly violent. A mother with a calf, or a bull, whose territory you have accidentally entered, will charge without provocation. It moves with a speed that defies its bulk, a living torpedo of muscle and fury that can shatter your pathetic skiff into a bundle of broken reeds. To be thrown into the water near an angry hippo is not to drown, it is to be torn apart. And so you live in a state of perpetual alertness. Every splash, every shadow beneath the surface, every rustle in the reeds sends a jolt of adrenaline through you. You watch your partner's back, and he watches yours. It is a bond of shared terror. You see the tribute offerings of fish and bread left on the riverbank to appease Sobek, the crocodile god. You murmur your own desperate, silent prayers. At the end of the day, if you are lucky, you paddle back to shore, your body aching, your nerves frayed. You look at your meager catch glistening in the bottom of your skiff. This is the prize for which you gambled your life. This is the food you won from the jaws of the river's monsters. Every sunrise, you must find the courage to do it again, pushing your fragile craft back onto the beautiful, treacherous water, knowing you are poling your way directly into the belly of the beast that may one day devour you, but which, for today, has allowed you to live. In the rigid social hierarchy of Egypt, you have a place. It is a place of profound importance and of utter revulsion. You create a material essential for daily life, the leather for sandals that protect feet from the hot earth, the harnesses for the pharaoh's chariots, the belts for a soldier's kilt. Yet, to produce this vital commodity, you must immerse yourself in a world of filth and decay, so profound that you are considered perpetually, ritually unclean. You are a tanner, and you are an outcast. Your workshop, the tannery, is not located within the village or town. It cannot be. The stench alone would make it unbearable. By law and by social decree, you are relegated to the furthest outskirts, downwind from all respectable habitation, usually near a water source that no one else would dare to use. This is your kingdom, a small stinking patch of earth defined by bubbling pits, piles of raw, fly-blown hides, and an aroma that clings to you like a second skin. The smell is a complex and horrifying symphony. There is the sharp, ammoniac sting of stale urine, the heavier, sour reek of decomposing flesh, and beneath it all, the earthy, slightly sweet odor of the tanning agents themselves. Above all of it, hangs the sound of Bazinga constant, thick cloud of flies that blankets everything. They are your constant companions. Your work begins when a carter arrives, his nose wrinkled in disgust, and dumps his load at the edge of your property. A pile of fresh animal hides. They are stiff with dried blood, still carrying patches of flesh and fat. Your first job is fleshing. You drape a hide over a large, smooth stone or a log. Using a long, curved knife with a dull edge, you begin to scrape. For hours, you push and pull, peeling away the stringy remnants of meat and the thick layers of greasy fat. It is strenuous, repetitive work, and it coats your hands and arms in a slimy, foul-smelling residue. Once the hides are fleshed, the truly repellent stage begins. They must be dehaired. You heave the heavy, slippery skins into a large vat. These vats are not filled with clean water. The primary dehairing agent is a foul soup of fermented urine, often collected from public pots in the nearby village, and a slurry of animal dung. The alkaline ammonia in the urine loosens the hair follicles. The enzymes in the dung help to break down the proteins. You are, in essence, marinating the skins in excrement. Your job requires you to plunge your bare hands and arms into this vile mixture, turning the hides, ensuring they are all submerged. The stench is eye-watering, a potent chemical assault that burns your nostrils. You then leave the skins to soak for days, putrefying in their chemical bath. When you pull them out, they are slick and swollen. You drape them again over the stone and using a blunt scraper, push off the now loosened hair and epidermis in great, slimy handfuls. The hide that remains is a pale, naked, and profoundly smelly thing. But the process is not over. The hide must be baited to make it soft. This involves another bath, this time in a solution made from more dung. Pigeon or dog dung was particularly prized. This stage softens the collagen fibers, giving the final product its suppleness. Again, you are working knee-deep in a substance that society deems the ultimate in filth. Only after this long, disgusting purification by filth process can the actual tanning begin. You drag the pale, naked hides to a different set of pits. These are filled with water and crushed acacia seed pods, rich in the substance that gives your craft its name, tannin. You lay the hides in this reddish-brown liquid. For weeks, sometimes months, they soak. Every day, you must come and turn them, moving them to vats with progressively stronger tannin solutions. The acacia stains everything it touches: your hands, your loincloth, the ground around the pits a permanent rusty brown. Finally, after an eternity of soaking and turning, you pull the stiff, darkened hides from the pits. They are now leather, but they are hard as a board. The final stage is the most physically grueling. You must stretch them, rub them with animal fats and oils, and work them over a wooden beam, hour after hour, breaking down the fibers until the leather is supple and strong. Your shoulders scream, your back aches. But slowly, miraculously, the stinking, rotten pelt transforms into a durable, valuable material. You stand at the end of the day, holding a finished piece of leather. It is smooth, strong, and clean-smelling compared to the rest of your world. A sandal maker will cut it. A soldier will wear it. A priest will walk upon it. They will benefit from your labor while shunning your presence. You can wash the grime from your body, but you can never wash away the stain of your profession. People smell you coming. They give you a wide berth in the market. You are the man who lives and breathes decay, so that others can have things that last. You are essential, and you are untouchable. The concept of cleanliness in ancient Egypt is a matter of profound spiritual and social importance. To be clean is to be pure, to be closer to the gods. The priests who enter the inner sanctums of the temples must be immaculate. The nobles who attend court must be robed in brilliant, spotless white linen. Purity is a visible marker of status. But you know a secret that the perfumed elite would rather forget. Their purity is born from your filth. You are a laundry worker, a fuller, and your job is one of the most degrading and essential in the entire kingdom. Your establishment is not by a sparkling, idyllic stream. It is a fullery, a dedicated workshop that is little more than a collection of large, circular stone vats set into the ground. The entire area is perpetually damp, the flagstones slick with spilled liquids. And the air is an almost solid thing. It is a sharp, chemical haze that stings your eyes and catches in the back of your throat. It is the overwhelming, piercing stench of ammonia. Today, a cart arrives from a wealthy estate. Servants, holding cloths over their own noses, unload several large baskets and shove them in your direction. Inside is a week's worth of soiled laundry from a high-ranking official and his family. You untumble the contents. This is not the coarse, rough linen worn by common folk. This is the finest of the fine, gossamer, thin, royal linen, robes so sheer you can see the light through them. They are stained with sweat, spilled wine, grease from a lavish meal, and the general grime of daily life. They are priceless, and the penalty for damaging them is severe. Your task is to restore them to their state of pristine, snow-white perfection. Your main cleaning agent is not soap as we would know it. It is something far more potent and far more repulsive. It is natron, a natural soda ash, but more importantly, It is stale urine. For weeks, you have been collecting it. Large clay pots are left at specific street corners, and passers-by contribute. The older and more fermented the urine, the better. As it decomposes, it produces ammonia, powerful, natural degreaser and bleaching agent. You heave the soiled linen into one of the large vats. Then you pour in the concoction, buckets of aged urine, mixed with a slurry of water and alkaline ash. The stench intensifies, a truly foul, biting odor. You see the fine linen turn a sickly yellow as it soaks in the mixture. Now comes the part of the process that gives your trade its rhythm. You hitch up your loincloth and you step into the vat. The liquid is slimy and cool against your skin. The soiled, heavy fabric wraps around your ankles. And then you begin to dance. This is the fuller's stomp. You lift your feet, one after the other, and you tread the laundry. Stomp, stomp, stomp. For hours. This is the human washing machine. Your body weight, combined with the friction of your bare feet, works the chemical solution deep into the fibers of the cloth, loosening dirt and stains. You and your fellow fullers work together in the vats, a small circle of men stomping rhythmically in a pool of urine and filth. It is exhausting, demoralizing work. The fumes burn your lungs. The alkaline solution irritates your skin, leaving your feet and legs red, chapped, and prone to sores. You are literally steeping yourself in the dirt and waste of the wealthy so they do not have to. When the stains have finally been pounded out, the hardest physical labor begins. You must haul the sodden mass of linen out of the vat. It is incredibly heavy, waterlogged with the foul mixture. You drag it, your back screaming in protest, to the rinsing area, ideally a cleaner, flowing channel from the river. Here, you must beat and rinse the cloth again and again and again, working to purge not only the original dirt, but also the memory of the cleaning agent. The smell of urine clings stubbornly to the fabric. It takes dozens of rinses until it is finally gone. Finally, you carry the heavy, clean, dripping sheets and robes to the drying field. You stretch them carefully over bushes or hang them on horizontal poles. The brilliant, unforgiving Egyptian sun is your final tool. It acts as a powerful bleach, turning the pale flax a dazzling, perfect white. Later, you will take the dry, stiff linen and finish it, using a rounded piece of glass or a smooth stone to press and polish the surface until it has a subtle, luxurious sheen. You will fold it perfectly. When you deliver it back to the noble's estate, it will be a pile of pure, fragrant white. The official will put it on, feeling clean, righteous, and superior. He will never for a moment consider the dance you performed in a vat of urine to make it so. You live your life in a cloud of acrid stench, so that he may walk through his in a cloud of lotus perfume. The afterlife is the central obsession of Egyptian civilization. To be reborn in the field of reeds, to achieve immortality, the body, the khat, must be preserved. The art of mummification is a sacred science, a holy craft overseen by priests who wear the mask of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming. They perform the sacred rites. They speak the magical incantations. They hold the divine knowledge. You do not. You hold the bloody knife and the empty jars. You are an embalmer's assistant. You do the work that is too gruesome, too profane for the high priests to soil their hands with. Your workplace is called the Wabit, the pure place, an almost laughably ironic name for a site so dedicated to the unclean. It is a tent, or sometimes a permanent workshop, located on the western bank of the Nile, the land of the setting sun, the land of the dead. It is deliberately isolated. The air within is thick and heavy, a cloying cocktail of scents, the sharp metallic tang of fresh blood, the earthy, medicinal smell of resins and spices, and over it all, the dry, chemical odor of the vast piles of natronti, natural salt, that is the key to your craft. Today, a new body has arrived. It is the corpse of a mid-level official, a man who could afford a respectable, but not extravagant, journey to the afterlife. He lies naked on a long, sloping stone table designed to let fluids drain away. His family has already mourned. Now, his body belongs to you. The chief embalmer, a priest of a lower order, directs the process, but the physical labor is yours. Your first task is the most infamous and delicate. You must remove the brain. It was believed that the brain was merely the source of mucus, of no importance for the afterlife. To leave it in the skull would be to invite rot. There is no neat, surgical opening. Your tool is a long bronze hook with a slight spiral at the end. You take the hook, say a silent prayer not for the deceased, but for your own steady hand, you insert it into the corpse's left nostril, pushing it upward. With a sickening, grating crunch, you break through the thin ethmoid bone that separates the nasal cavity from the cranium. Now, you are in the skull. The next part requires a gruesome sort of skill. You must use the hook like a whisk. You twist, you turn, you thrash it around, liquefying the soft brain tissue into a grayish-pink slurry. When it is sufficiently blended, you turn the corpse's head to the side, and the liquefied brain simply pours out of the nostril into a waiting bowl. Any remaining bits you must painstakingly pull out, piece by piece, with your hook. The empty cranial cavity is then rinsed with palm wine. This is your work. Reducing a man's thoughts, his memories, his personality to a bowl of waste to be unceremoniously discarded. Next comes the evisceration. The chief embalmer marks a line on the left side of the abdomen with a charcoal stick. He hands you the ritual knife, a sharp blade of obsidian or flint. It is now your job to make the incision. As an assistant, a paraskistes, this act of desecrating the body, even in service of preserving it, carries a heavy ritual taint. According to some historical accounts, after making the cut, you are expected to perform a pantomime of being chased and stoned by your fellow workers, a ritual to absolve them of the impurity of the act. Through the incision, you reach into the warm, still pliant abdominal cavity. One by one, you must remove the internal organs. Your hands, slick with blood and bodily fluids, search in the dark. You pull out the stomach, the intestines along, slippery rope you coil into a basinth liver, and the lungs. It is a messy, intimate, and profoundly disquieting task. The only organ you leave in place is the heart. The heart, the ib, was believed to be the seat of intelligence and emotion, and it was essential for the final judgment in the afterlife. The extracted organs are not discarded. They are washed with palm wine, packed in natron to desiccate them, and then placed into 4 special containers, the canopic jars. Each jar's lid is shaped like the head of one of the 4 sons of Horus, the gods who would protect these vital organs for eternity. It is your job to ensure the right organ goes into the right jar. You are packing away the man's ability to eat, to breathe, to live, preparing it for a journey he will never physically take. Now, the empty body cavity is scoured with palm wine and stuffed with temporary packs of natron and linen to help it dry. The entire corpse is then buried in a massive pile of dry natron salt, like curing a piece of meat. It will lie there for 40 days. The salt will relentlessly draw out every last drop of moisture, every fluid that could lead to decay. The smell in the natron shed, where dozens of bodies lie in their salt beds, is one of overwhelming chemical dryness mixed with the subtle, sweet scent of slow decomposition. You spend your days not only preparing new bodies, but tending to the old ones. You check their progress, replace natron packs, and live in a world where the lines between the living and the dead have become hopelessly blurred. You eat your midday meal of bread and onions, just yards away from where a former scribe or soldier is slowly turning into a leathery husk. The work stains you, both physically and socially. The smell of death, resin, and natron clings to your skin and clothes, and perfume that marks you in the marketplace. You are seen as a necessary evil, a creature of the liminal space between worlds, tainted by the work you do. You spend your life immersed in the mechanics of death, painstakingly preparing others for an eternity that you, covered in their fluids and marked by your profane craft, feel you might never be pure enough to enter yourself. Your work begins when the embalmer's work ends. The mummy has been wrapped in its linen shrouds, the final rites have been spoken, the sarcophagus sealed. The magnificent tomb, filled with everything the deceased noble or royal could ever need for the afterlife furniture, food, jewels, and goldus, now closed. It is a house for eternity. And you are its gatekeeper. Its lonely, terrified gatekeeper. You are a guard of the necropolis, the great city of the dead on the west bank of Thebes. Your post is not a bustling city gate or a grand temple entrance. It is a desolate spot in a silent, windswept valley of rock and sand. Before you lie the entrances to a dozen tombs, dark, unobtrusive doorways cut into the cliff faces. Behind you lies the vast, empty desert. The silence here is unlike any other. It is not peaceful. It is a heavy, expectant silence, thick with the weight of buried kings and the lingering echoes of immense sorrow. During the day, the duty is one of searing heat and profound boredom. You stand your watch, leaning on your simple spear. The sun hammers down, and the pale limestone cliffs reflect its glare, creating a furnace-like heat that makes the air shimmer. There is no shade, save for the sliver of shadow cast by a rocky overhang. Your companions are the desert flies and the occasional lizard skittering across the hot rock. You watch the occasional funeral procession winding its way into the valley, a brief intrusion of life and noise before it recedes, leaving the silence even heavier than before. Your mind wanders. You think of your village, of the taste of fresh water, of the sound of children laughing. All things that feel a world away from here. But it is the night that you dread. As the sun sets, the valley is plunged into a darkness, so complete it feels tangible. The familiar shapes of the cliffs dissolve into menacing, monolithic shadows. The desert wind, which was hot and suffocating during the day, now turns cold and carries strange whispers as it funnels through the ravines. It is at night that your true enemies come alive. Your first enemy is the thief. You know they are out there. Desperate men, perhaps former workers who helped build these very tombs and know their secret layouts. They are driven by the lure of the gold that lies just a few feet beneath the sand and stone. They are not afraid of curses or the wrath of the dead gods. Their hunger in this life is greater than their fear of the next. You know their methods. They work in small, quiet teams. They might try to tunnel in from the side, bypassing the sealed entrance. They might try to pry the heavy stone door from its socket. Your job is to listen for the faint, telltale clink of a copper chisel against stone, or the muffled sound of digging. The fear is constant. You are often alone, or with only one other guard. A gang of determined thieves would easily outnumber and overpower you. They would not hesitate to slit your throat and leave your body for the jackals. Your only defense is your spear and a flimsy shield. Your only hope is that your shouted alarm will be heard by another patrol before it is too late. The punishment for a guard who is caught sleeping on duty or who fails to stop a robbery is unspeakably brutal. It can be impalement or being burned alive. The state values the dead's property far more than your living body. Your second enemy is more insidious. It is the one that crawls inside your own mind. Superstition. You are a man of your time. You believe, with every fiber of your being, in the power of the spirits, the acts, of the dead who rest within these tombs. The priests have taught you that a disturbed spirit can become a vengeful ghost. Every strange sound the wind makes is the moan of a restless mummy. Every shadow that flits at the edge of your vision is a malevolent spirit come to haunt you. You have heard the stories from older guard tales of shadowy figures seen gliding from tomb entrances, of tools moving on their own, of men who went mad from what they saw in the dark. Is it just the wind and the tricks of the tired mind, or is it something more? Standing alone in the heart of a giant cemetery, it is easy to believe in ghosts. This fear is a cold, slow-working poison that erodes your courage night after night. Your isolation is your greatest burden. You may spend weeks at a time posted in the necropolis, living in a crude hut with other guards. Your only contact with the world of the living is the man who brings your meager rations of bread, dates, and water. You are surrounded by more dead than living people. You feel yourself becoming a ghost, disconnected from the rhythm of normal life. Your world is one of rock, sand, and fear. You sit at your post, huddled against the cold night rock, straining your ears into the vast dark silence. You are guarding unimaginable wealth for people who can no longer enjoy it, from people who are desperate to possess it, all while terrified of the very souls you are paid to protect. You are a warden of a silent, eternal prison, and you are just as much a prisoner as the kings you watch over. The word came on the wind, carried by messengers on fast-trotting donkeys. The divine pharaoh, the living Horus, required an army. An uprising in Nubia needed to be quashed. A campaign into the Levant was planned to secure tribute. Your name, along with every other able-bodied young man in your village who was not essential for the harvest, was added to the conscription list. There was no choice. You were not asked to serve your country. You were commanded to. You are now a soldier, a pawn in the pharaonic game of war, and your life has become a cheap and expendable commodity. The life you knew the rhythm of the seasons, the feel of familiar earth under your feet, the faces of your family vanishes in an instant. It is replaced by the harsh reality of the training barracks. Here, your individuality is systematically stripped away. You are no longer the son of your father. You are infantry. You are given a simple kilt, a light shield of animal hide stretched over a wooden frame, and a primary weapon, either a long spear with a copper tip or a simple, heavy-headed mace for close quarters fighting. The elite archers and chariot divisions are for the sons of nobles and career military men. You are the rank and file. You are the wall of flesh that will absorb the enemy's charge. Discipline is the bedrock of your new existence, and it is instilled with brutal efficiency. The commanders and seasoned officers rule through fear and the sting of the rod. For a hesitant step in formation, for a poorly thrown spear, for a moment of perceived insolence, the punishment is swift. A public flogging that leaves you unable to lie on your back for a week. You are drilled relentlessly under the hot sun, marching, marching, marching. You learn to move as one body, a human machine that responds instantly to the shouted commands and the beat of a drum. The rations are meager and monotonous. A daily portion of hard bread, some dried fish, and water that is often stagnant and swarming with life. It is just enough to keep you on your feet, but you are in a constant state of dull, aching hunger. You dream of the simple stews your mother used to make, the taste of a fresh fig. Such memories are a form of torture now. Then comes the march. You leave the green, comforting lands of the Nile Delta behind and venture into the hostile territories of the desert or the scrubland of Syria-Palestine. This is an ordeal in itself. You march for weeks, carrying your shield, your weapon, your water skin, and your meager bedroll. The sandals issued to you, if you were given any at all, quickly fall apart. You march on bare, blistered feet over scorching sand and sharp rocks. The sun is a relentless tormentor. The dust is a constant presence, chafing your skin, fouling your water, and plaguing your lungs. Men sicken and die on the march long before they ever see an enemy. They are left where they fall. The army does not stop for the weak. And then you face the enemy. The moments before a battle are a cold pit of terror in your stomach. You stand in your tightly packed formation, shield locked with the man next to you. The air is thick, with the dust of thousands of shuffling feet and the sound of your own heart hammering in your ears. Across the field, you see the enemy. They look just as terrified and determined as you are. The horns blow. The drums beat a frantic, thundering rhythm. Your commanders scream the order to advance. and you begin to walk forward into the storm. The world descends into a deafening, terrifying chaos. The sky darkens with arrows. You hear them whistle past your head, and you see the man next to you cry out and collapse, an arrow protruding from his neck. You hear the sickening thud as they strike shields. You are not fighting with skill or grace. You are a component in a shoving match of death. You push forward, planting your feet, bracing your shield against the crush of bodies. You thrust your spear into the gaps in the enemy's shield wall, not aiming, just jabbing, hoping to strike flesh. The man in front of you goes down, his face a mask of agony. You must step over his body and take his place. The noise is a symphony from hell, the screaming of wounded men, the clash of bronze on wood, the guttural war cries, the panicked whinnying of horses. The ground under your feet becomes slick with blood and mud. You are overwhelmed by a primal, desperate need to simply survive. If you are victorious, the aftermath is scarcely less horrific. You walk across a field littered with the dead and dying, your friends and your enemies lying together in their final, silent embrace. You are tasked with plundering the enemy dead, a grim and joyless task. The commanders will take any valuables. Your reward might be a worn-out cloak or a dented bronze dagger. If you are wounded, slashed to the arm, a spear wound to the leg, medical care is virtually non-existent. A battlefield medic might wash the wound with water or wine and apply a dirty linen bandage. Infection is more likely to kill you than the initial blow. If you survive, you carry the scars for the rest of your life, a permanent reminder of your brush with death. You fight not for glory, for you will receive none. Your name will not be carved on a temple pylon. You fight because you are commanded to. If you are lucky, you survive the campaign and are marched back to your village, a husk of the young man who left. You are poorer, harder, and haunted by the things you have seen and done. You have served the divine will of the pharaoh. You were his spear, and now, blunted and battered, you have been discarded until you are needed again. Your craft is not one of stone, wood, or metal. It is a craft of emotion, but not your own. You are a manufacturer of sorrow, a conductor of public grief. You are a professional mourner, a jury. Your presence is an essential part of any respectable funeral procession, a living testament to the importance of the deceased. But your tears are not for them. They are for the small payment you hope to receive at the end of the day. You live on the very fringes of society, often in the same downmarket quarters as the artisans who work with unclean materials. Your trade, while necessary, is viewed with a certain suspicion. After all, you traffic in the appearance of the most profound human emotion, but you do so for coin. It is a strange, liminal existence. Your day begins with a summons. A servant from the house of a recently deceased official arrives at your dwelling. A price is negotiated: a few loaves of bread, a jar of beer, perhaps a small piece of cloth. Your payment is directly proportional to the perceived status of the deceased. A great man requires a great show of sorrow. You gather your troop. It is mostly women, as weeping and displays of frantic grief were considered a particularly female domain. You are led by a senior woman, a seasoned veteran whose wail can curdle milk and whose gestures of despair are legendary. You make your preparations. You do not put on fine clothes. You dress in the traditional mourning attire, simple, often torn, blue or gray linen robes. The key is to look disheveled, undone by grief. You rub dust and dirt from the street onto your face, into your hair, and over your exposed arms and chest. You must look the part before you can act it. When you arrive at the house of the deceased, the real performance begins. The body, already prepared by the embalmers, is being brought out in its coffin to be placed on the funerary sledge. This is your cue. At a signal from the lead mourner, you unleash a torrent of sound. It begins with a low moan, a collective hum of sorrow that seems to rise from the very earth. Then, it escalates. It becomes a high-pitched, ululating wail, a sound designed to be piercing and unsettling, to slice through the quiet reverence and announce to the entire neighborhood the magnitude of the loss. You are a human siren of sadness. Your body must match the sorrow of your voice. You throw your arms into the air in gestures of supplication and despair. You beat your bare chests with your fists, a rhythmic, hollow thudding that accompanies your cries. You tear at your already disheveled hair. You sink to your knees, scooping up handfuls of dirt and pouring it over your own head, a visceral symbol of grief and abasement. You must appear to be on the verge of complete emotional collapse, teetering on the edge of madness from the pain of your loss. The funeral procession begins its slow journey to the tomb on the west bank. You are at the forefront, leading the way. Your performance must be sustained for the entire long walk. You stagger, you keen, you sob. You call out the name of the deceased, asking why he has left you, why the gods have been so cruel. It is a long and exhausting piece of street theater. Your audience is not just the family of the deceased, who are following behind in a more dignified state of real, quiet sorrow. Your audience is the public. The number of wailing mourners, the sheer volume of your collective grief, is a direct advertisement of the dead man's wealth and importance. You are not just mourning a person, you are performing a status symbol. You watch the family for cues. If they are weeping, you must wail louder. You are their emotional proxy, expressing the raw, uncontrolled anguish that their social standing does not permit them to show. It is a strange and taxing psychological burden. You must immerse yourself in the performance of grief so completely that it begins to feel real. Your throat becomes raw from screaming. Your body aches from the contortions of despair. The dust irritates your eyes, causing real tears to stream down your dirty face, blurring the line between performance and reality. At the entrance to the tomb, your performance reaches its crescendo. As the coffin is carried inside for the final opening of the mouth ceremony, you put on a final frantic show of trying to hold it back, of refusing to let go. You may even collapse to the ground, a heap of spent, inconsolable sorrow. And then, as the tomb is sealed, the performance ends. As abruptly as it began, the wailing stops. You stand up, brush the worst of the dirt from your robes, and wipe the grime from your face. The change is unsettling. The air, suddenly silent, rings with the ghost of your cries. You line up quietly, and the steward of the estate gives you your promised payment. You take your bread and your beer, and you walk away, your job done. You return to your home, your body aching, and your voice a hoarse whisper. You have spent your day channeling a grief that was not yours, for a man you did not know. You are a hollow vessel, filled for a few hours with performative sorrow, and then emptied again. Tomorrow, another man will die, and you will be summoned to fill yourself with a new, temporary sadness. You have no job title. A job implies a choice, a wage, an end to the workday. You have none of those things. You are not a worker. You are property. You are a household slave, a hem. Whether you were born into this life, captured in a war, or sold as a child to settle a parent's debt, your reality is the same. Your existence is not your own. It belongs entirely to the master of the house you serve. Your life is a constellation of endless, invisible tasks, the ceaseless labor that allows a wealthy household to function. You are the first to rise, long before the sun. You move silently through the dark, quiet house. Your first task is to tend the fire in the kitchen, carefully coaxing the embers back to life. You begin to grind the grain for the day's bread, a task that can take hours of back-breaking work with a heavy hand grindstone. The rhythmic, grating sound of stone on stone is the true wake-up call of the household. As the family begins to stir, your duties multiply. You carry jars of water from the nearest clean source often, a long walk away for your master's morning ablutions. You assist him in dressing, fetching his clean linen kilt, buckling his sandals, arranging his wig. You must be deferential, silent, and efficient. A clumsy move, a moment of slowness, can earn you a sharp cuff to the head or a barrage of insults. There is no single role for you. You are, at various times, a cook, a cleaner, a servant, a nanny, and a general laborer. You sweep the floors of the house, battling the eternal influx of dust from the street. You help prepare the meals in the hot, smoky kitchen, peeling vegetables, scaling fish, and tending the cooking pots. You serve the food to the family, standing silently and unobtrusively in the corner of the dining room, waiting to be summoned, your own stomach aching with hunger at the sight and smell of the rich food you are forbidden to touch. You eat the scraps, later, when everyone else is finished. If there are children in the house, they are your responsibility. You watch them, play with them, clean up after them. They can be a source of affection, but they are also a source of constant anxiety. If a noble's child falls and scrapes their knee under your watch, it is your carelessness that will be blamed. You may develop a genuine bond with the children, but you are painfully aware that it is a bond of profound inequality. You are their keeper, their plaything, but never their equal. Your freedom is non-existent. You cannot leave the household compound without permission. Your free time, if any is granted, is not yours by right, but a gift from the master. Your personal relationships are subject to his whim. He can sell you, your partner, or your children separately, shattering your family without a second thought. You have no legal recourse, no court to appeal to. You are, in the eyes of the law, equivalent to a piece of furniture or a head of cattle. The most terrifying aspect of your existence is its intimacy. You live in closer proximity to your master than any of his friends or associates. You see him at his most unguarded, when he is angry, when he is ill, when he is drunk. You are the keeper of his secrets, the witness to his private life. This proximity is a double-edged sword. A kind and compassionate master might make your life bearable, treating you with a degree of paternal affection. But a cruel, capricious, or abusive master can make your life a living hell. You are vulnerable to their every mood swing, their every dark impulse. There is no escape from their anger and no protection from their advances. You must learn to read their moods, to anticipate their desires, to make yourself as small and unobtrusive as possible to avoid drawing their negative attention. You live a life of constant, low-level fear. The fear of a beating for a spilled drink, the fear of being sold away from the only people you know, the fear of displeasing your owner in some small, unintentional way. This fear grinds you down more effectively than any physical labor. It hollows you out, leaving a dull, aching emptiness. You watch the cycle of life in the household births, festivals, funerals. You are a part of it all, and yet completely separate from it. You are a silent, invisible gear in the machine of their lives. You will likely die in this house, your passing noted only as the loss of a useful asset. You are surrounded by the trappings of a comfortable life, good food, fine linen, shaded courtyards, but none of it is for you. You are a ghost in someone else's home, your own life, an unwritten story, a silent service to the comfort and posterity of others, with no hope of a legacy or an eternity of your own.